Welcome to Samsung Next Meets. My guest today is Hazel Savage from Singapore. Hazel knows the music industry inside out and has founded her own startup at the intersection of AI and music. Hazel, tell us a bit about yourself, your company, and your role there.
Thank you so much. So I'm Hazel Savage. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Museo. We describe ourselves as an artificial intelligence company for the music industry. And what that means is we work on large data problems and large data solutions for the B2B industry. I've been in the music industry for about 14 years, previously at Shazam, Pandora, and Universal Music. So this is kind of all I've ever known. And this is what I'm doing now with Museo.
Okay, so apparently you've worked all over the music scene, but what made you decide to take the plunge and build a tech startup?
Yeah, so obviously my background has been, other than Universal Music, I have worked much more within sort of tech startups. You know, when I joined Shazam, I was one of the first, I think I was like employee number 25. So I've always enjoyed early stage tech music companies. But the real reason that I often tell people that I joined that I started Museo was I met my co-founder through Entrepreneur First, which is a talent investor and incubator. They're from the UK originally, but they have offices in Singapore. And you know, I was interviewing for jobs at like streaming services as like a head of marketing, and then I got a call. Would I be interested in trying EF? And the thing that really pushed it over the line for me was they told me they had James Brown's drummer was doing the latest cohort, and I thought,
Nice.
I just got to meet this guy. I got to kind of find out about this guy. So that's kind of why I decided to join EF. And then 2.5 years later, I have my own company.
And you met that guy.
Yeah, we're really good friends. He actually he lives in Singapore. I've seen him play live. The talent is phenomenal. But also, I recently had him write a guest series of articles for the Museo blog, really in depth about the artists that he's played with, and you know, his take on funk and soul music. And it's a great read. So yeah, I consider him a good friend these days.
Cool. So Hazel, I would say the music industry is not quite known for leading the way in groundbreaking technological revolutions. However, I think that the number of startups popping up around the intersection of music and technology has increased in the last years. Have you noticed that as well? Have you noticed a change in attitudes within the scene since you founded your startup? And if yes, why?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, having only ever worked in this industry, I have been following the trends my entire career, and I definitely, you know, I worked in music when, you know, downloads first became a thing, and you know, I worked in music when ringtones were a large part of the finance in the industry. And then I also worked in music when streaming services were just starting. And I feel like the traditional music industry perhaps made a few missteps on really missing the opportunity around music downloads and missing the opportunity around streaming, because they'd had it so good for so long with physical retail of CDs, vinyl, and cassette. So there's definitely more of a passion now with these companies to be more tech forward and to be more tech facing. And, you know, I think it's true in music tech as it is within other industries that they're often the outliers and the people who are not constricted, like myself with my own startup. You know, we can really do anything. We're not beholden to a large catalog or to a large set of pre-existing behaviors. So, you know, and it's also something that people love to do. Like, everybody in the world loves music. So a lot of people would want to build something in this space. There are challenges around that as well. But yeah, I mean, it's, you know, you can look at places like Abbey Road Red, which is a specific music tech incubator in the UK, Techstars Music in the US, a specific incubator just for music tech companies. I definitely think there's a growing interest. And if you look at kind of the revenues that the music industry has done, you know, it's been growth on growth for the last 5 or 6 years, and it's projected to grow another 30-40% in the next 3 to 4 years. So this is a good industry to be in. And people are saying that it's a recession-proof industry because, you know, people don't give up music during a pandemic. People don't give up music, you know, if they lose their jobs. Music is a constant. So I think there's many reasons, but yeah, it's a good industry to be in.
Quite the contrary, right? It's an important tool for your mental health. right? Even in
100%.
challenging times.
Mm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, you might think if somebody lost their job, they might consolidate their TV subscriptions. If they had 3 or 4, they might drop down to 1, or they might drop down to only a freemium service. With music, people would still continue to listen to the radio, still continue to listen to freemium streaming services. It's not something that we ever cut out of our budget. The human experience is very tied into music, I believe.
Right. Hazel, earlier this month, you created the perfect TikTok track using the Museo AI technology. So 2 questions. First of all, what is the perfect TikTok track? And second, could AI have the potential to remove humans from the music creation process?
Great question. I have very strong opinions on this as well. So, we used AI to guide the process of writing a perfect TikTok track. So it was slightly misrepresented in some of the articles that followed it up. But essentially what we did was we used our AI to analyze everything that's currently successful on TikTok and identify trends. So what are the genres that do well, that go viral? What are the BPMs that do well and go viral? And looking at all of those, incremental differences, and then essentially making a short list of the perfect track would have these characteristics. And then we had one of our guys from the music team, Sean, write a track that fit those characteristics. So it was still a piece of music written by a human, but we used AI to be able to look at the data to dictate possibly what should be done. So it was a fun experiment. And we think that the outcome sounds like something that you would hear on TikTok. But in terms of AI generating music in the long term, it's my personal belief that artificial intelligence is best when it replicates a function that either humans do not want to do or it's not manually possible to do. So, Museo can tag 1 million songs a day with the genre, the BPM, the key, the energy. A human being can do maybe 200 songs max. So we have an efficiency level with AI that we can't get manually. But when it comes to writing music, there's no lack of human beings that want to do that particular task. There are bedroom musicians and kids growing up learning instruments and DJing. And, it's not really like there's a need to replace something that humans enjoy doing. So it's my belief that artificial intelligence generated music will not overtake the real deal, the human product, because I don't think we need it to, and there's really, I don't see very much demand. But that's my personal opinion. I know there are others who would disagree with me.
Actually, that's a great segue to my next question. Speaking about AI, do you think there should be a code of ethics of sorts for how this sort of technology is used, especially in order to prevent it being manipulated to the advantages of the big labels and producers?
That is a very, very good question. I think, in terms of a code of ethics, it's not my area of expertise, but I have to say that usually when you're talking about music and you're talking about something that as a product is designed for the end user to enjoy, they tend to vote with their wallets. And that was what happened with music streaming. The major labels would have preferred that, physical retail was still the predominant method of sale, but the users went, yeah, streaming's way more convenient. This is where we're going to spend our money and our time. And I don't see that the individuals will start to distract their time. People love Cardi B because she's refreshing and honest on her Instagram stories. People love the Jonas Brothers because they're related, and there's like, who are they marrying? And there's a whole, celebrity. You're never going to get that with artificial intelligence. Perhaps there could be some level of emotional manipulation with music that's written by AI. I think we're a long way off it being good enough. I must admit, when I listen to music that's written by AI currently, I can't tell if it's just not very good or if it's an AI. Like, the standard is nowhere near where it needs to be. So I think we have another 5 to 10 years before that's even a potential. And then I would want to see how the industry pans out in terms of what regulation we need. But as I say, I don't think it's ever going to be the predominant thing that people want to consume. And I also don't think it's ever going to stop individuals from wanting to create music. So I'm hoping that it could need regulation. And if it did, I would support that. But I think that the the audience votes with their feet and with their money. And I don't see it heading towards AI. So we'll see.
Hazel, despite the flag behind you, you are actually based out of Singapore and decided to found your startup in Singapore. Why that? Do you see advantages to founding a tech startup in Asia over Europe?
So yeah, you're quite correct. I'm sat talking to you right now from Singapore. I am from the UK originally, as you can tell by my accent, and as by this is my latest Vox amp. I also play guitar, so this is something I treated myself to quite recently. And you know, you become a little bit patriotic once you've left your home country. But Singapore is actually a great place to build a company. I was here already working for another startup before I started Museo. I've been in Singapore for about 5 years, and before that, I was in Australia for about 5 years. And I've always said to people, I just go where the work is and I go where the market is. And, you know, that's a way to create more opportunities for yourself than staying in one location. But Singapore is incredibly startup friendly in terms of starting a business here, in terms of accessing talent, in terms of accessing VC investment. I would say one of the challenges is that the music industry is not so big over here. So a lot of my customers are based in Europe and the US. And, you know, when I was able to travel and fly all over the world, that's how I addressed that issue. It's more of a challenge, you know, during a global pandemic, but there are a lot of reasons to start a company in Singapore. I would say predominantly the talent. You know, we have a really, really strong team, and we're a unique company in this space. You know, we're Singapore's first VC funded music tech company. So if you want to work for a really exciting music tech company, it's pretty much us. So that's a great way to attract the best talent in the region.
Cool. Hazel, on a totally different note, we are seeing increasing numbers of fantastic women founding deep tech startups. But as with all industries, I would say it is not moving as fast as it could. What do you think can be done to start encouraging more women to found deep tech startups?
That is a great question. And actually, I was having a chat with the managing director of Entrepreneur First in Singapore about how to attract more women and how to bring more women into this ecosystem, because, you know, even at an application level, you don't see as many women even applying for the incubators in the same way that men do. So I think you've got to go back a bit further than that. And I think it goes back right through the education system. And I think it actually goes back to like parenting and upbringing as well. And I say that I was very fortunate that my parents brought me up to really believe that I could do anything, you know, and that I could achieve anything. And also, you know, that I was just as capable of anyone else. You know, when I wanted my first guitar, for example, because music as a musician is another area where you see far more men than you do women. And I got a guitar for my 13th birthday. And, you know, when I said to my dad, you know, he's like, what do you want for your birthday? I said, oh, I'd like a guitar, you know, so I'm 12, I'm going to be 13. And the reaction that a lot of women get at that age is, oh, you won't bother playing it, or, oh, you won't bother, and that's not for you, and, oh, you know, just another fad, you know. But my dad just said, yeah, great, no problem, let's go to the guitar shop. And so I just had encouragement from a very early age that there was nothing that wasn't for me. And I think that's, you know, I even teach guitar now, and I mainly teach other women. And I have to say, teaching another woman guitar is like 50% actual tutoring, and then 50% you can do it, like morale boosting. And so I think it goes right back into education and to encouragement that we need to, we just need to tell more women they can do this. And we need to have more examples of women doing this for them to kind of follow. And I would hope that that would flow right up into, you know, women at more senior levels on boards with more female CEOs, and then more women starting deep tech companies. So yeah, I think it's a thread right through society that we can focus on.
Speaking about good examples, I have a last question for you. We love to get guests to give a shout out to others in the tech scene who go above and beyond to do great work. Is there anyone you would love to highlight, and why?
There's a couple of, you know, this was my favorite question. There was a couple of people I wanted to highlight. Like, I'm a huge fan of Arlen Hamilton. So I follow her on Twitter. Her background is in entertainment, but she's now an investor. And so having built Museo and going through the process of raising VC money for my company, every single part of the process was new to me. And so I love to see other women in the space. And I love to, especially people that come from a similar entertainment background, I find that particularly inspirational. And then there's one other startup, a couple of friends of mine here in Singapore, Superbase.io, Koppel and Ant. They just did YC recently, and it's kind of an open source Firebase solution. And I'm really excited by what they're doing as well. So those would be my two shout outs.
Great, Hazel. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your time. It was a pleasure, and keep on rocking.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.